Hello everyone and welcome to my sloppy kitchen. The holidays are here and I've decided to show you how to make some delicious and beautiful Christmas cookies. They're fun for the whole family, so stay tuned to see how to do it. For this recipe, this is what you're going to need. 280 grams of all-purpose flour, 1/2 of a teaspoon of baking powder, 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt, 180 grams of room temperature butter that has to be just a little bit soft, 1 large egg, 1/2 a teaspoon of vanilla extract, 1/4 of a teaspoon of almond extract, and 150 grams of granulated sugar. For the royal icing, you'll need 480 grams of powdered sugar, 3 tablespoons of egg white powder, some water, and some gel food coloring. Last but not least are the cookie cutters. I have all sorts of shapes here. I have a candy cane, a snowflake, a sock, I have a gingerbread man, snowman, reindeer, angel, whatever you want. And you will also need some piping bags. And to make my Christmas cookies even more fun, I'm going to use all of these sprinkles. They're all nice and Christmassy. I have little mistletoes, I have little stars. I also have this beautiful glitter. I have the golden ones. They're going to be as cute as a button. To get things started, I'm going to mix the dry ingredients. So my flour is here, and then 1/2 a teaspoon of baking powder, 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt, and something that I forgot to mention in the opening, which is cream of tartar. Cream of tartar is going to help prevent cookies from going brown in the oven. So I'm just going to add 1/4 of a teaspoon, like so. And then I'm just going to give it a little mix in order to incorporate all the ingredients. So the butter is nice and soft now to the touch. You can see it's not melting, it's not hard, it's perfect for cookies, and I'll put it in my mixing bowl. You can also use a hand mixer. And to this I'm going to add 150 grams of granulated sugar, and I'll put the pedal attachment on and I'll just whisk it until it's incorporated. For around 2 minutes or so. But because I don't want any sugar flying around, I'll cover it, and I will of course start mixing it on low. Okay, I stop now just to pick up all the butter which is on the sides of the bowl. I'll put this back on, and I'm going to add 1 egg, some vanilla extract. I only said 1/2 a teaspoon, but I think that I'm just going to use 1 teaspoon because I really like vanilla. And I will add just a little bit of almond extract. This is a very powerful stuff, so just be careful. Tiny. I think this is 1/4 of a teaspoon. And oh, it smells so strong. I love it. All right, let's continue mixing this. Okay, I stopped. I scraped the sides of my bowl, and I'm just going to add the dry ingredients into this. I will also change the attachment here, and I'm just going to use this one, which is something like a whisk attachment. It's really good for dough. I'll cover it, and of course I will start on low and I'll gradually increase it. You don't want to over mix this, so mix it just until all the ingredients are incorporated. So I stopped now, and I'll continue by hand, with this spatula. As you can see, I think the consistency is perfect because it sticks to the spatula, which means that it's going to stick together. Just give it a little more bit of a stir, to get all the tiny ingredients which are on the bottom. Okay, here is my cookie dough looking all nice, and what I will do is just, I have it here on a piece of foil, of a plastic foil, and I'll just make it into a disc. And because the cookie dough has to be really cold before you start baking it, so that the butter doesn't melt immediately when you put it in the oven, once you make it into a disc, put it in your refrigerator for at least 2 hours. You can also store it overnight, but I found 2 hours to be just fine. So as you can see, it's very nice and soft. It's not grainy or anything, and cover it like this and store it in the fridge for at least 2 hours. For me, Christmas season would not be the same without the Christmas cookies and mulled wine. Mulled wine is a big thing here in Vienna where I live. You can even buy it at a supermarket in a bottle, but I really like to make my own because it's super easy and I can control all the ingredients. So this is how I make it. I need some red wine, and I just bought a bottle of relatively cheap red wine. It has to be a little bit sweet. And then I have 1 orange along with the zest. I have some cinnamon sticks. I have some whole cloves, and here I have 3 tablespoons of sugar, but you can also use honey if you like. And you'll need a saucepan like this one. So here is my wine, and I'll add the sugar, 1 cinnamon stick. Oh, smells beautifully. 6 cloves, and then 1 whole orange, and I'll just keep 1 slice for the decoration. Give it a little stir, place it on a small stove, and let it come to the boiling point, but don't let it boil. Give it a little stir. And then when it's reaching the boiling point, just lower the temperature. I lower the temperature to somewhere between 1 and 2 out of 10, and I'll cover it, but not all the way. And I'm just going to let it sit like this for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 1 hour, as long as you want actually, because the longer that you boil it, the more potent it will be. So I think that I'll just, because I'm very anxious to try it, I'll leave it for 45 minutes or so. It mustn't boil, so be careful. So after around 50 minutes, I remove this from the stove, and I'll just fish out all the oranges. I'll also remove the cloves and cinnamon. And just to make sure that there aren't any bits and pieces, I'll take this strainer and strain this. And to decorate it, take this cinnamon stick that you use, put it inside, and also take an orange slice and add it here. And that's it, voila, enjoy. Cheers! So my dough was in the fridge overnight, and it's nice and hard now. So what I will do is just slice it into 2. You see, just take a knife and divide it into 2 parts. It's going to be a little hard, but it's fine. And then take 1 part out. We are going to work on it now, and wrap the second one and put it back in the fridge. So I put some flour on this silicone mat. It's going to prevent this dough from sticking, and we're just going to roll it. But first cover it in some flour so that it doesn't stick to the rolling pin, and then knead it a little bit. It's going to be a bit hard, so before you start making it, get it out of the refrigerator and let it sit for like 10 minutes. Don't turn the heating on in your kitchen if you can, if it's not too cold, because you don't want this butter to get overly warm. So let's just knead it into a nice disc, which is going to be easy to roll. And now I will just roll it. It doesn't have to be a perfect circle because we are going to cut out cookies of it. So So I think this is fine now. It has to be around half a centimeter, let's say a little bit less than half a centimeter thick. Okay, and now is the fun part. Just cut it. And what I prepared here is just a tray. I covered it with a parchment paper and I'm going to put the cookies here. Take it out. Just make sure, especially if there are small parts like this Christmas tree, yeah, should be like this. And as I said, your kitchen should be slightly cool, so since you're doing this in winter time for Christmas, don't turn the heating on. Otherwise it's going to melt, the butter is going to melt. That's exactly why we put the other part of the dough back in the fridge, because it's easier to work with 2 small batches. And now just repeat the process until you run out of dough. So I've used up the first batch of dough and I'm going to take the second out from the refrigerator. I'm going to do the exactly same thing, and this is going to be in the fridge while I'm doing it. So here are my cookies. There are 3 layers of cookies here, and now that this is done, I'm going to pop it back into the fridge for around 30 minutes to give the time to this butter to solidify, and then we'll bake them. So here are the cookies on a parchment paper on a baking tray, and I turn the oven to 180 degrees Celsius. Once it is heated up, I'm going to bake these babies for 11 or 12 minutes. I'll have 3 batches, so this is going to be around 36 cookies. And when you line them on a baking tray, just make sure there is enough space between them, because they will grow in the oven and you don't really want them to stick together. So make sure that they have around a centimeter or 2 of space. And yeah, that's it. Alright, so here is the first batch of cookies, nice and golden out of the oven. These here are a tiny bit brown because they are smaller than the others, but it's fine. Once we layer icing on them, well, nobody will see that. And I'm just going to leave them to cool completely, because they have to be completely cold before I start layering icing on them. And in the meanwhile, the second batch is in the oven. Has come to make the royal icing. So in a mixing bowl I have 480 grams of powdered sugar, to which I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of egg white powder. And first I'll just whisk it together a little bit so that it's nice and incorporated on low. I'll stop now, and I will add 9 tablespoons of room temperature water. And I'll mix it all together for some 2 minutes on medium to high speed. As you can see, the royal icing is dripping slowly from the whisk attachment, and in 5 to 10 seconds it's becoming one again with the rest of the icing. This is when I'll stop. The royal icing is here covered so that it doesn't dry out, and let's prepare everything first. So what you need are piping bags. You don't need any kind of attachments, just simply cut the edge of a piping bag here, make it very small or a little bit more open. If you want a lot of icing, I like to have everything under control, so I'll just make a very small opening. Let me show you. See, it has to have a very small hole for more precision. So for the snowflakes, I'll use white, light blue, and I'll use some glitter. I have this beautiful white shimmery glitter. The best thing about royal icing is that if it is too thick, just simply add a bit more water. If it's too runny, add more powdered sugar. That's it. So I will pour just a little bit of the icing inside of the snowflake, and then distribute this icing with a spoon. And now before the icing dries out, I'll just add the glitter before the blooms. So here is the final result of the stars. I think they turned out really nicely, especially with this glitter. Can you see it? It's beautiful, and the golden star in the center. So I'm just going to let them dry completely. So now I want to make a Santa Claus, actually 4 Santa Clauses, and because I'm not really a good painter, I made blueprints with a black edible marker, just use an edible one, so that I know which colors go where. Because I have a lot of white here, I'm just going to put the icing as his beard. To draw Santa's eyes, I'm using this black edible marker. So here is our snowman, nice and cute. This is not blood, nobody has sliced his throat, this is a scarf. I think he's really cute. To make a Christmas tree, again, I drew the blueprints on it so that it's easier, and we are going to be using 2 colors for the branches, dark green and light green. We're going to start with dark green. So now we have to let this dry, and in the meanwhile we are going to add a star. For the inside of this little tree, I'm just going to drip a little bit of this same dark green color in the center. And now that this is nice and dry, I'm taking lighter green color and layering the icing on the second and the middle section of the tree. Last but not least, we have Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer, and as you can see, I also just drew a tiny blueprint. That's it everyone, here are my crazy Christmas cookies. I had a lot of fun baking and decorating them, and I hope you will too. I wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays and a sweet 2021. Subscribe to my channel for more videos, and as always, thank you for watching. Bye!